All right, so let's talk about the triggers that we're going to create in your dog to change the cascade of excitement and hyperactivity in the dog that wants to knock down grandma as soon as he goes through the door to visit her. There's a few prerequisites, and I'm pretty sure almost every single one of them you can get from my YouTube channel. So the prerequisites that I have for you. Number one, the cue cook, which means I'm going to deliver a cookie to where you are now. You don't need to move forward. Number two, the cue search, which means find the reinforcement I just threw on the floor. Number three, value for reinforcement zone. That is the spot on your hip. And that can begin with a very popular YouTube video I have called Perch Work, Pivots and Spins, and also podcast episode number 73, where I talk about shaping value for the reinforcement zone. Now, personally, I named them. My right side I called side, my left side I call close. What's really important is when I deliver food rewards, when my dog are in this position, I always touch my hip before the food goes to the dog's mouth. So then the connection isn't from my bait bag or my pocket to my dog's mouth, it's from my hip to my dog's mouth. All right? So those are three super easy prerequisites for you. The final two are just human mechanics that I know you'll be able to pull off. And you're going to do them both, rehearse them both with just carrying your leash without a dog attached. You can even put a little stuffed animal on the end of it to practice with a stuffed animal. Don't practice this one with your dog until you get the mechanics nailed right by yourself. So if you have your dog on your leash, you're walking in one direction, and what we want is an inward turn, side change, and direction change. Now that's a very big phrase for what in agility we call a front cross. By inward turn, your dog's on your left and you're walking straight, your dog's walking straight, you turn into your dog. Your dog is going to follow you and turn into you. Now, the dog previously was on your left side, now they're on your right side, and you have changed directions. You were previously going forward, you are now going in the opposite direction. So it's an inward turn, side change, and direction change, aka agility front cross. Really get comfortable at that with dog on right and dog on left. Walking your dog on the right, turning in to change to get your dog on the left, walking dog on left, turning in to get your dog on the right. So that's where working on your reinforcement zone is going to have a dog who's comfortable being on your right-hand side. And the final move is much easier, and that is a same side direction change. So if your dog's on the left, pretend there's a painted line on the ground. You can put duct tape on the ground if you want. You're going to walk on a line and just turn and go back on that same line. So your dog is on the left. They go all the way around the outside. Now you're pivoting in the middle as you make that turn. Your dog's on the outside. They have further to go. It's a same side about turn. You're going back in the same direction. Those are two turns. Our dog's going forward. We need our dogs going back, but I want you to be consciously aware of the two sets of mechanics because one will help the dog reorient to you. The other has the potential of losing the dog's focus, and we will do it as a test down the road. But the goal is when your dog is in the presence of one of these triggers, we help them reorient back to us. Now, if that sounds vaguely familiar, I did talk about this in podcast episode number 88, where I'm talking about working on exterior distractions for your dog. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to practice this around your house. You worked on those 5 elements separately. So what we're going to do, we're going to walk up to a door, touch the handle of the door, and do a front cross, aka an inward turn towards your dog. Touch the handle, inward turn towards your dog, change side, say the word search, and toss a cookie on the ground. You're going to do that 2 or 3 times. Touch the handle, say search, turn, toss a cookie on the ground. Now this next time, you're going to touch the handle, then say the word cook, and you're going to touch your hip, the side that the dog is on, obviously. So if your dog's on the left, you're going to open the door with your right or touch the handle of the door with your right. If the dog is on your right, you're going to touch the handle with your left. Say the word cook first, touch your hip, and feed the dog. You're going to do this in any threshold around your house. You're going to just pick one, get it really good at the one, and then we're going to move to another. It's a threshold game. It's a game. It's fun. Your dog's going to love it, and it's going to create a great trigger for you. So touch the handle. The handle becomes the trigger that tells the dog to reorient to you instead of looking forward to what's on the other side of that door. That's where we're headed. And what we're doing is currently all the value is on the other side of the door. We are telling the dog, here's the relationship with me. There's a lot of value to be had with me. So when I touch the door, I might be dealing out value over here. I might be dealing out value on my side. Now, when you get to the place where you can touch and turn and you can feed your dog in reinforcement zone, now we're going to open the door. Do the same thing. Sometimes do a front cross, say search, drop a cookie on the ground. But now you're probably at a point where mostly you're going to open the door and then do a front cross, touch your side, say cook and feed the dog in reinforcement zone on your side. Eventually, you're going to walk up to the door, open the door, maybe take 2 steps into the room, do that inward turning front cross. On the way back, maybe 3 steps towards the door. You're going to give 1 cookie on your side, take 1 more step, another cookie in reinforcement zone on your side. So it's a random amount of reinforcement. Eventually, the dog's going to go, this is a cookie fun game. When we cross a threshold, really cool things happen to me. So the threshold game teaches the dog how to orient to you and not be concerned about what's happening out there. And once you get good, you might walk 5 steps into the room before you do an inward turn, a front cross, and walk part of the way out. You could decide one trip you're going to feed on your hip, cook, feed on your hip, take 1 more step, cook, feed on your hip. Every step out of the room, you're feeding on your hip. Remember, mix up the value of your reinforcement. Don't just use boring old kibble. Use a mixture of super exciting treats with your dog. And when you're starting this, I would recommend really high value reinforcement. And then you get to a place where you might reinforce them once and you might reinforce them twice. You might walk in and out of that one room, then go to another room, start the behavior again. So it might take, we go in and out of one room, but in the second room, we get reinforcement or reinforcement on the threshold game for both rooms. You've got a great game, my friend. Now you're going to use it to the outdoor. So if dogs get excited going outside because they know they're going for a walk or they know where they're going for a car ride, it may take more tossing the cookie back or forward turning and rewarding in reinforcement zone. But if you're patient and you grow this up, I promise you, your dog is going to learn. Thresholds mean orient to you. And when I was doing this with my friend's puppy, literally in less than 10 minutes, that puppy was orienting back to her and not being concerned with what was going on in the environment in my building. Now, I even went to the place where I got my puppy out and I started playing games with my puppy, kind of as a tease, AKA distraction, and he wouldn't even look. And that's when we went to the final test. And that is, instead of an inward turn, she walked in and she turned to do a same side turn to walk out. Why is this a test? Because on an inward turn, the dog is kind of forced to follow you because your turn gets their attention and they come with. But when you're doing a same side turn, you can lose your dog as they go off towards the distraction while you try to head out the door. That's a real test on how much value have you built for the threshold game. So we only use that same side turn occasionally, but once your dog says, I pick you, you can use it as often as you like. All right, I would love for you to play the threshold game.